Head over to the west coast of Trinidad, where the Gulf of Paria looks calm on the surface, but many fear a storm is building just beneath. At the Haiti fishing depot, men are gutting their fish as they normally do, catch on long tables, stacking piles of conch and bait, kind of like boats but quietly offshore. On days like this, you can actually see the mountains of Venezuela rising on the horizon. So close, it feels like a part of the island itself. But for the fishing community over there, the waters no longer feel safe. They're caught in the middle of the geopolitical struggle that could change the Caribbean as we know it. We've been talking about this, and well, let's just get into more of what's happening. Last month, I reported that the American government deployed 8 warships and a submarine to the southern Caribbean. The White House says it's about fighting drug traffickers, boasting that 3 so-called narco boats were destroyed, killing at least 17 people right now. But UN experts and human rights organizations have blasted the attacks as extrajudicial killings. They warn the US has taken on the role of judge, jury, and executioner without evidence, without trials, and without accountability. And now, tiny Caribbean nations like Trinidad and Tobago are being forced to pick sides. Or well, are they being forced or did they choose to? And that's up for debate.
Did anyone see Trump gleeful at the fact the Venezuelan fishing boats are now no longer taking to the waters because they are afraid of the Americans bombing them for just simply existing? He's absolutely over the moon at this. He finds it funny. And basically what he's doing is summarily executing people with absolutely no evidence that they are who he says they are, and no proof has been provided that they were who he said they were. These are fishermen going out in their boats and then being bombed by American planes and missiles because Trump wants to make it look like that he's dealing with the drug problem coming out of Venezuela. And he's sat there saying like, oh, if I was a fisherman, I wouldn't go out there. This is people's fucking livelihoods. And he's nuking them in the waters because he just wants to look tough. He sent this entire flotilla of American Navy vessels down to Venezuela to blow up fishing boats. If he can do this to random fishing boats on the water, what's to stop him doing it to anything, essentially? What's to stop him just saying, that boat there, blow it up? And it could be a boat of refugees. It could be a boat of medical aid going somewhere that's necessary. We don't know if these boats were full of people, whether they were full of fish, whether they were full of drugs, because no one's bothered to investigate. No proof was offered that these were what they were saying they were. And yet somehow he's happy about this and his entire regime's happy about this, and the right are saying, oh yeah, he's getting rid of all of those drug dealers. These boats would never have made it to America. They don't have an engine big enough to get there. He's lying to you about this. But we're just expected to sit around and expect this. This is normal. This is the new normal because this is what Trump wants to do. We just have to accept that fact. And the media is not really making a big issue of it. They're just sort of saying, yeah, these ships were blown up and that's it. No story about what, that these people, that they've provided no evidence these people were anything other than just fishermen going about their business. And the fact that he's happy as Larry that the Venezuelan fishing industry is being harmed by the presence of American boats is just disgusting. This is the same energy as I get from Israel just being allowed to willy-nilly attack any country it feels like under the guise that's saying, oh, Hamas are there, so we've decided to bomb your city. This is the same energy, this kind of pariah state that the world is just letting get away with all of this. Like, he's bombing ships in the middle of the ocean because he says they're a problem. Well, as I said, what happens when he decides to bomb a pleasure craft, a refugee boat? Why is the world not doing more about this? Why is the world not standing up to him and saying, no, if you're going to insist on putting your ships there, then we are going to have to put in some sort of mechanism to defend these people, because this is ridiculous. And Trump is getting away with it in the same way that Netanyahu is getting away with randomly and indiscriminately bombing other countries. And the world is just letting them get away with it.
On one side, members of the Alba Trade bloc, backed by Venezuela, call this a flagrant violation of international law. On the other hand, countries like the Dominican Republic have assisted the US directly, even helping to target a vessel that was later struck. Guyana's President Irfan Ali says he supports action to crush transnational crime, but also admits that he's treading carefully. And then there's Trinidad and Tobago. Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar has openly welcomed the US naval presence. She insists the only people against are those tied to the drug trade. Tobago's chief secretary even claimed Fisher should be happiest now since the warships act as a deterrent. But the Fisher folks themselves, well, the Fisher folks are saying something completely and utterly different. Philip, just 30 years old but already 18 years on the water, said to local media that Venezuela, they're warring Trump, so it could come like they are warring we as well. It's hard to take the risk because you are not sure if they will attack or not. Another fisherman said bluntly, "We as a country never had a problem with Venezuela. Now these comments in the media, some fishermen are afraid to take chance to go where they normally go. We don't want war. We do not want it to escalate." And when President Trump himself admitted that the US warships were probably stopping some fishermen too, it only deepened the fear. Senator J.D. Vance even told the press he personally wouldn't go fishing in the Caribbean. For coastal families who depend on the sea, those words sound less like protection and more like a threat? Who knows?
What I'm saying is now, boy, as a man, I just like to see when all you're handling the scene. I like to see when John Public being wise, using discernment, and saying, well, watch now, this is making sense, and everybody on the same page. If it's that, so we gotta get the unity, I for that. You know what I mean? So everybody see for their own self that the Prime Minister cancel the national parade, call for their prayer, and then in pray with whoever come out. Everybody see that for themselves as blatant as they could. They send out the mouthpiece to talk and say, oh, well, she was doing the nation's business or whatever. How she can't talk for herself? Right. So that is just an attribute that the governing party does have. Rowley and them used to do it too. They used to do things and not answer to we. You know what I mean? And this is a trend that is having politics that I believe need to stop. There must be some type of audit or some type of reprimand that these people should face from lying to the public and then getting away with it. Rowley and them used to do it. Imbert and them do it. Look, Kamala and them fall right in line. So we under the same type of governance from the same type of parties from two sides of the same coin. Typical. They could do things and not answer. But it's still good to see that the public will ask the questions because that is what we're here for too, to keep them in check. You know what I mean? So I want to applaud John Public for celebrating Independence Day without leadership. All you know, people real holding up Donald Trump. Hey, Trump, boy, you murdered the Venezuelans and them in the international waters, boy. Ray. Kamala, herself. Yeah, you kill them with violence and all kind of things she's saying, right? All you know, if Donald Trump is to cancel July 4th, the impeach him one time, the call he unpatriotic and, you know what I mean? Donald Trump could never in his life think about stopping the Independence Day parade. It's something no leader could really do and get away with. Only place I really see that is here in my own country, in Trinidad and Tobago. But we really come here to talk about that. Yesterday we see Trump blow up a boat in the sea. Right? We got a snuff film. If all you don't know what a snuff film is, go and look it up. Trump and them like what a snuff film.
This tension isn't just about fear at sea. It's about survival on land. Trinidad's Central Statistical Office reports fish prices were up nearly 10% in August compared to a year earlier. The fishing industry may only represent 0.6% of GDP, but it's worth over 83 million Trinidad and Tobago dollars in exports, and it feeds communities and it feeds families. Economist Dr. Valmiki Arjun warns that fewer fishing trips could make supplies volatile, pushing prices up even further. That means families paying more at markets, restaurants struggling to keep menus affordable, and insurance costs for vessels rising across the board. Some restaurant owners says that it hasn't hit yet, but they're worried that if this prolongs, it could affect availability and push prices upwards. So, the question becomes, whose security is really being protected here? If families are about to starve, fishermen are afraid of their life, prices of goods are rising, then who are we protecting? Some, like veteran fishers, welcome the US presence, arguing it will stop piracy that Trinidad's Coast Guard never managed to control. But others warn that by siding so openly with foreign governments, Trinidad may be inheriting some of those foreign governments' enemies without shield. Venezuela's defense minister has already warned that if an attack launches against his country from nearby territories, those countries will face a forceful response. So, while leaders argue over sovereignty, legality, and crime, it's the fishers, ordinary men and women gutting their catch at dawn, who wonder if they will become the next collateral damage. For now, the Gulf of Paria still looks calm. Boats still leave at sunrise, markets still bustle with fresh catch. But history reminds us the Caribbean has always been a stage for empires to flex their power. This time, the front line isn't in Washington or in Caracas. It's in Maracas Bay, Claxton Bay, Otahiti, and Mayaro. And as these foreign governments doubles down on its mission, the question remains, are these warships really here to fight crime, or are they pulling the Caribbean deeper into someone else's war? I'm Whitney McKoy reporting for the African Diaspora News Channel. Until next time, stay connected.